All right. Peace, 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 family. So good afternoon. I'm back here for my weekly live stream. Today I'm rolling solo. You have to excuse the occasional rooster crow. This is, so out here on the farm, there's tons of roosters out here, so they're going to be joining us in our discussion. I just wanted to talk a little bit about what's going on with me here, and then open it up for any questions that people may have. Again, I want to thank y'all for tuning in. Like I said, I'm rolling solo without the good doctor this week. We will be back on together next week. So, but got to keep the show going and keep that consistency. So today, this Wednesday, we are. Today is let's start it with the new moon, some astrology. I know some of y'all may be into it, maybe not into it, but today does mark our new moon, Virgo new moon. I know a lot of y'all are still following the Western system, with the calling it a Libra new moon, but no, it is if we actually observe the actual constellation, we see that the sun and the moon. The new moon means that the moon and the sun are aligned. So being that the sun is still in Virgo, the moon that puts the moon in Virgo. And so we're talking Virgo new moon. So, energetically, astrologically, Virgo is a sign of service and responsibility and good habits. Virgo is also the sign of health. We talk about health, we talk about good diet, we talk about service, responsibility, work. These are all the attributes of Virgo, and with our sun and moon aligned in Virgo, and specifically within the constellation of Virgo, especially in the sidereal system, we understand that each sign is broken up into 2.5 signs. Each sign. So within Virgo, we have the nakshatra or star lord of Hasta. So Hasta takes that Virgo energy even to another level where Hasta is represented by the hand. So, this is a time of really getting specific in terms of, because Virgo is all about the details. Virgo is all about, service, and specifically with working with our hands, just getting crafty and, really doing what most of us don't want to do. So we got that energy happening right now. As you can hear, I'm here in nature, in a very natural environment. Again, we got the hens and the roosters crack-a-lacking. Just to say something really quick about that, just my time here, it's been a little bit over a week, and I could feel the difference, just from being an urban dweller and living in the city for many years now. Just the transition that one that happens when you sort of acclimate to this environment. You acclimate to a really natural environment. Yeah, I'm still, connected. We got technology, and we got being able to, whether it's get online, uh, 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 whether I make calls, communicate, the Wi-Fi, etc. But at the same time, like yesterday, went on a 3-hour hike. Just really enjoying connecting with nature. No phone, no Wi-Fi, no, basically just really just breathing the good air, the good vibes. We really owe it to ourselves. I've talked at length about, doing this for yourself periodically. And it becomes so important to, even listening to the roosters. I don't notice it until I talk to somebody else. Hey, man, them roosters is loud. Like, oh yeah. So, being in an environment, it was the same, like, being in Jamaica, being on the coast, and you constantly hearing the water all day, all night. It just becomes a part of, like, the meditation and the vibe. And, we really owe it to ourselves to really connect on some level, or disconnect, and it's not enough to, at least in our urban dwellings. If you live in a city, I live in Washington, D.C., Rock Creek Park, for example, huge park, beautiful to, just really just disconnect, leave your phone off of you for a few hours and just walk the park, and do that periodically. It's probably, we talk about health, and largely we talk about food, we talk about fasting, we talk about, all the things, all of those good habits, and those are obviously, foundation building, habits. But, when we really, connecting with nature is by and large right up there, especially now, as we go into our winter time. It's going to be more challenging, but even then, with the cold weather, cold temperatures, it's going to be important to do it regardless. These are the things that we need to, stay consistent with. So, those are the things that I wanted to talk about today, before we get started. And at this time, if anyone has any questions, I would love to get a conversation going. If there's any questions in regards to, anything, any topic, any, whether it be health, fasting, we talked a little astrology, nature, everything is on the table, recipes. So I could see your questions here on Instagram. We're here on Instagram. We're here on YouTube. I know I'm live on Facebook. I'm unable to see if you're on Facebook and you have a question. I will not be able to see that, but if you come over to YouTube, you'll be able to see me streaming live, and you can type in your question in the chat. So, yeah, if there's any questions, I'll take any questions right now. So again, broadcasting live here from Panama. We're really making a push, Reese and I, we're really making a push for December. We got some exciting events lined up. We have people signing up. And so, all of there's still vacancy. And if you'd like to come for a week, definitely give me a holler. let me know. Send me a message, whether you can DM me, you can message me through any medium, email, my website, keprasrawfoodjuicebar.com, and you can send me a message. Khepra at Chef Khepra is my email. Khepra at chefkhepra.com, and if you're interested. And we also do have the 2022 schedule. So if there's any week within 2022, let me know. The schedule is made, but it's still subject to change. So if I do, let's say if there's a group of you that like to come and there's a specific week, then maybe we can work around your schedule, versus us, you trying to work with our schedule. So, yeah. So, if it's not any questions, I will, just say some closing words and check out, and go join. Okay, somebody requested to be in the live, so let me bring her in. Oh, we got some questions. Hold on, I'm bringing in somebody on the Instagram live.
Hello, greetings.
Greetings. How are you? Good. So I'm here. What's your name?
I'm Celestial.
Celestial?
Yes.
All right, nice to meet you. Where are you from?
Yeah, I'm from Georgia.
Okay. Okay. All right. So
I was calling you because I had like one question for you. Just a little background. For like a whole year and some months, I went completely raw. Mm-hmm. And during my time of I was on like a fruitarian diet for like a year and 3 months. And during that time, I was living in Sudan, and then for some time I went to Jamaica. But when I came back to the States, I quickly realized there was a huge difference, like in the amount of minerals that's in our fruits and vegetables here, because a lot of it is imported from outside. So about time it gets here, it's kind of deficient. So I realized still now I'm like 85% raw and 15%, cooked foods. But I realized when I was overseas, I didn't have any cravings. I felt so fulfilled. But being here, I've been having a challenge with trying to get enough minerals to where I don't feel like I have to eat as much fruits or eat as much vegetables in order to feel, just satisfied. So I was going to see, I know you've been in the game for a minute, so I just wanted to see if you had any suggestions. I did start incorporating baobab and sea moss into my diet, into my juices, so they can get a bit more minerals. But yeah, that's where I'm at.
Wow. Well, that's a great question. I mean, so basically, over a year you did, excuse me, basically largely fruitarian diet, but again, this was outside of the U.S.
Right. It was only like 2 or 3 months in the U.S. where I stayed consistent with it, but the rest of the time I was overseas, and I could always feel the huge difference. Like I didn't feel the need to eat at all overseas. I had to be reminded, like, oh, girl, you ain't had no juice today. Like, go eat something. And I lost a lot throughout that period. Like I was at I started off at 272, and I literally, dropped down quite a bit.
Okay. So what's your weight now, if you don't mind me asking?
So I'm back up now. Like originally when my body detox, I went down to like 150.
Okay.
And now I'm at like 205. But it feels different. It doesn't feel at all like the same weight I had before, because I'm able to still do a high intense cardio. And I don't feel as heavy as I did before. It feels like a healthy 205, but I definitely I can feel it when I'm running. I do miss that smaller side, just only because when I used to run, I didn't feel anything. It felt so light.
Okay. All right. So, okay. So yes, there is something to be said. Really, just to summarize, the question is from Georgia. Basically, over a year of doing raw, largely fruits, was able to lose over 100 pounds. Amazing, shout out to you, and really hats off and salute. That's awesome. I love to hear stories like that. But returning to the US, largely in Georgia.
Mm-hmm.
And let me ask you, were you okay, so you attempted to do raw, even I'm assuming you did largely organic?
Right. And it's quite more expensive in the US.
Right. But even with the organic, you had issues, or you didn't feel the same fulfillment. Is that
right? Because I feel like in Sudan, since they've been cut off from the world, their practices of growing things is just so pure to where I don't know. It's like I would have like a banana juice, and the whole day I wouldn't feel the need to have anything until later on that evening. But here, and I'm noticing too, even now with buying more fruits and stuff, it's like they're going bad so quickly. So I know the amount of minerals cannot be the same. So
yeah. It's it's a night and day difference. Anyone, I'm sure if we even put it under the test, and we started to measure the soil and see the difference, and then even the taste. People come. I don't know how many times I've heard people say, "Oh yeah, I had a pineapple, I had a mango," whether it be in Jamaica or some other part of the world where these things kind of grow naturally and they're more in tune, and you got the rich soil, the taste. Especially doing fruitarian. Really, that is the lifestyle. When we're able to eat the level of fruit, and the fruit be so satisfying, to the point where it's like, wow, I really don't need to eat. If I ate something additional, I'd really just be for entertainment, if anything, but not out of any type of necessity. So really the question is, it's like, okay, what do you do to sort of combat that, or what do you do to supplement? I'm not a big fan of supplements per se. I really try to, we really should try to aim to get everything from our food, versus like, really trying to key in on, different isolates. People, supplements are like, okay, you're isolating one thing, at the expense of, or of basically something not being whole or complete.
I agree. That was my stance.
Right. So with really eating whole foods in their proper form, in the proper way, that's really what we all should strive to do. Now, again, you're doing better than most. You said you're largely still mostly raw. Now, let me ask you this: what's been your experience with? Have you done any fasting?
So I have to let me just. That's where I have to get on myself. I used to fast when I first came back. I would fast at least like 2 days out the week, or really my eating was still. Okay. So when I came from Sudan, I bought a whole suitcase of dried fruits back with me, like Baobab and these other dried fruits. So when I was consuming those, it would just be like liquids I was consuming. But when I ran out of that, I have not been fasting since then. So, I consume a lot of liquids, I try to stay away from eating so many solids in general.
Mm-hmm.
So I do have to do better at doing like a dry fast of just like not having anything. I haven't did that in quite a bit.
Okay, but even with the liquid, because I know the thing is on this lifestyle as well is that, you know, I remember even, you know, my first year of doing raw, I did a lot of fasting, and I didn't necessarily know how to do it, or, you know, it was really just me experimenting and really becoming kind of you know, I wasn't a believer, let me say it like that. And you know, a few years later, especially being introduced to fresh coconut water and understanding the power and the benefit of fresh coconut water, I actually wrote a book on it, on the experience. Paradise Health is my book, because there at least at the time there was nothing out there really talking, because I'm like, man, this water is so complete. Not only is going to be my only water that I drink, I'm going to use it as a tool for fasting. And you know, once I started doing that, and I'm like, man, nobody's talking about this. Everybody talks about the master cleanse, this lemonade thing, or they do on water. I'm like, this is the game changer. So I would suggest, you know, given that you have put in, you've got some years now on your, you know, experience. This is the next level. This is the next layer of where you need to go. And this is what, because the thing is like, even on raw food, your body still needs to take breaks from digestion. Your body needs to have those times, those periods. So, you know, I've been doing 1 day a week for years, at least 12 years, 1 day a week, every week. That's 52 days out the year. And then aside from that, with the solstice and equinoxes. So we just had the fall equinox, for example. So at least 3, 4, 5 days with that time, up to a week. And then once a year, it's good to do a longer fast once a year, more than, I would say, somewhere between 10 and 14 days at least. And if you do that, that's sort of kind of get your body to do a complete reset. You know, again, 1 week without any real fiber or anything that the body has to do any work. And that reset and that you know, sort of developing that system of eating or not eating is really going to be the next level. Now, as far as the foods and eating like whole foods and complete foods, I mean, there's really nothing I can say. You know, our environment is everything, and you know, the air we breathe, the food that's being grown. The only thing I can say is like, continue to do as much organic as you can. But even the organic, I mean, I gotta say, a lot of times conventional, maybe not with the greens, but at least with the fruits. A lot of, and if you're doing tropical fruits, I find that a lot of conventional tropical fruits are better than their organic counterparts. And again, I'm just speaking on just my you know, just a feeling of energy, you know, in terms of taste, in terms of ripeness. You know, I mean, I can say like, now if I can get organic, great, and you know, it tastes good, you know. But if oftentimes, you know, organic, especially like, again, the tropical produce, those you have to sort of you got to sort of weigh the pro and the con. But as far as your greens, I think being in the U.S., it's a time to do more green leafy salads, to do your dark kales, collards, your dark, rich leafy greens, and having more of a balance with those. So yeah, if you're in Sudan, you're in Jamaica, yeah, fruitarian all day. With just doing a little bit of greens, you can get away with that. But when you come to the US, you have to increase your greens and you have to increase nuts and seeds. Because again, the fruit, now, I mean, we are getting, we're going into persimmon season, pomegranates, more of the winter fruits, citrus, citrus is a winter fruit. So, you just got to be more selective with the fruits and increase the greens and the nuts and seeds. And you'll find that that should sort of help you, reach that 100% raw level. And even if you need to do more smoothies and juices with those, you can do that too. So that would be my suggestion and my recommendation.
I appreciate it. I gotta, like you said, go to the greens because I've been like, oh, I've been digging the fruits.
And see, right, and with that being said, I mean, as a woman, and as a woman who also can put on weight easy, you're going to naturally be attracted to the sugar and and it's not a bad thing, but what happens is on a cook, if you start to introduce cooked foods, you're gonna be attracted to the starches, and the starches are gonna basically add that weight like quickly, because the starch is the food that is empty, that does basically full but doesn't deliver anything. You put it in, and really I say it's a lie. It's the worst food, and it is the most addictive food, period. So your greens have to be your starch. Your greens have to be your filler. Your greens are going to have the minerals that the fruits don't have, the calcium and the magnesium and the iron, and such. So you gotta do more greens. You gotta do and more nuts and seeds. But you want to do more greens because you don't want to be doing as many nuts and seeds anyway. But yeah, I mean, as I would say, come to Panama for, come see us, and we got plenty of fruits waiting for you. I had to plug that, but no, just I mean, you're on the right path. Again, I find that with women, especially, women can do well on the fruitarian diet because they're going to be more attracted to the fruits and the simple sugars, and the fruits, because they're being grown here in better soil, better sun, and picked at a time where the ripeness is more ideal. Then you'll be able to benefit much more, and not have to eat so much of the other stuff.
Right.
So
I appreciate it.
Yeah, I appreciate you.
I'm so grateful for all that you're doing. I support y'all, and I'll definitely be seeing y'all eventually, God willing.
All right. Well, thanks for joining in, and yeah, we'll see you soon.
All right. Peace and love.
All right. Peace. All right. So that was a great question there. We had a few questions come in on the YouTube. What do you think about saying you shouldn't eat a certain amount of greens because of the oxalate compound? So again, we just had a question where our young sister was having trouble, doing the same level of fruits as when she was in Jamaica and in Sudan. And really the answer to the question was, or the suggestion was, to increase the greens. Now, again, the oxalate compound, I don't find that to be an issue, at least in terms of, again, every food is going to have its good and not so good, or its pro and con. And with doing a higher level of greens, I find that, again, from the minerals that you're going to be able to get, the chlorophyll, that is going to outweigh any sort of negativity from any oxalate compound that any of our greens is going to provide us. And if anything, it's always going to be good to also include some of your greens in your smoothies, especially for children. One of the things, for our children who may not be hip to or may not be adjusted to, eating fresh greens, raw greens, especially, one of the things is like definitely blending any of our greens, whether it's kale, spinach, maybe not so much collards, but definitely the kale and spinach you can, blend with a banana, and a banana having such a strong flavor, and the sugar is going to basically mask that like any bitterness that green can have. The other thing too is that if that is also a concern, we can always do baby leaf greens. The baby leaf greens are not going to develop those compounds as strong. So we got baby spinach, baby kale, baby lettuces, even baby leaf collards, and then also, doing your own garden. In the States, especially right now, as we move into our fall season, this is green season. If you go to the farmer's market, you can, you see that the greens are in flux right now. The greens are heavy in rotation. They really come into season in our fall season. So this is really the time to really be doing it like heavy with the greens. I would say percentage wise, probably at least a good 50% of your food right now should be greens. Fresh, raw greens. Again, we got varieties of kale, collards, different spinaches, lettuces. If you want to do even some of the spicier greens, we got mustard green, turnip greens. Turnip greens are like some of my favorite greens to eat. Got a really nice a bite, a spice to it. So the greens, especially when we're talking about being on a raw food diet in this time as we go into winter season, is critical. Because again, as we heard from my sister, when we're looking for fillers, because that's what minerals give us. Minerals are the fillers that we're looking for. Fruits give us the moisture and the fiber to largely detoxify us. But when we're looking for filling foods, mineral-rich foods, we almost have to go with the greens. So it's going to be really critical to have a high level of greens in our diet. So if I know, like my first few years of doing raw, my rhythm was a big fruit, a watermelon. I'd cut open and have like a big watermelon bar. I'd cut half of the watermelon off and have this big watermelon and eat that until I got full. Obviously, it's just largely water, so it runs right through you. And then I have a big salad for lunch and a big salad for dinner. And that was like kind of my flow for at least the first 2-3 years of doing raw foods. And I feel that will not only, if there's a video that I have, 5 steps to becoming and staying raw. And one of them is becoming green. That is really the antidote for cooked starch, is becoming green. It does 2 things. One, It will provide those minerals that we're looking for. And then two, it's going to work as a detoxifier, because now if we can go a year or more doing fresh green leafy vegetables that is at least 50% of our food, that's going to rewire the dependency on the, or yes, the I guess the false dependency, or the drug dependency on the cooked starch. Is the antidote is the greens. So good question. Let's move on to the next question. Could you cover the reasons behind cold intolerance on a raw diet? So the question, for the IG family, could you lightly cover the reasons behind cold intolerance on a raw diet? Is it normal? Now, if I'm reading this correctly or assuming it correctly, I mean, I think this is in large part like when people ask about well, I'll just cover everything cold. So from one standpoint, people like to have their food hot from a temperature standpoint, so they want to heat their foods up. They want to have like hot or warm foods, like a soup or something that's warm to the mouth, like temperature wise. We're not talking peppers or spiciness, but we're just talking warm. And in large part, and let's bundle that together, because as we move into our colder season, we want to have, people largely want to have cooked food. They want to have food, because the other part of it is that raw food can have a cold response in the body. Like, it can basically make us feel cold. So they really kind of work hand in hand together. So the thing is that, again, it really kind of works the same way in terms of how I was explaining introducing greens. If there's any coldness in the body, again, that could be low iron, low magnesium. And the thing is that with having low magnesium, low iron, low calcium, what's also happening, if we're eating starches, it is not helping. It is actually making it worse. It's giving you a false comfort if you're eating these starches, because what's happening when we eat these starches is the body wants to maintain an alkaline state. But if you're eating starches, that's providing high levels of acidity. And what's happening is that the body is going to pull on the alkaline reserves in the body. So it's going to pull magnesium from the muscle tissues, nitrogen from the muscle tissue. It's going to pull calcium from the bones, and basically, and keep you addicted to the starch, to the starch effect. So the thing is like, if we don't ever break this cycle, because the thing is like, we now try to go raw, and it's not going to happen in one season. You may have to go through a season of working through a winter season to get through, to feel maybe that sense of coldness in the body as the body goes through that adjustment period. But I can guarantee you, if you were to stay the course in that next winter, you're not going to feel as cold. You're not going to be as sensitive to wind and the cold weather. But it's like, you're going to have to at least endure one winter of your body looking to rewire itself, to recondition itself, to to detoxify. I mean, it's really this is something that's not going to happen in one day, one week, 1 month, or even one season. It's going to take a full season, at least a whole solar year, a whole calendar solar year, for you to rewire the tissue, for you to rewire the dependency on the false dependency, I should say, on these devitalizing foods. We gotta introduce these greens. If you're in a climate where the fruits is less than ideal, you can't get high quality, organic, mineral rich fruits, we almost have to go to the greens. We have to go to the greens, and that be sort of the foundation. Now, greens are a part of, while they're not the ideal, they are the ideal depending on the environment that you're in. While it is not the ideal, we are fruitarians. Greens do fall under the fruitarian diet. So it is alkaline. You got high level minerals. You got and when you start to really get into it, like I mentioned, some of the spicier greens, your mustard green, your turnip greens, your dandelion. These are more your spicier greens. Okay, these are going to provide that heat in the body, and then when we combine that intelligently with our nuts and seeds, making our creamy dressings, that's the combination. Combining your greens with your healthy fats. So whether it be your avocado, whether it be your pumpkin, sesame seed, sunflower seed, hemp seed, and then also your nuts. So nuts, seeds, things like avocado, olives, if you're in Jamaica, the ackee, or even in Florida. I know Florida, in South Florida, you got some ackee trees growing down there. Like, these are what I call my master fruits: ackee, avocado, olive, durian, jackfruit. Like, these are what I call the master fruits. So, really getting into, again, these high level fruits that bringing, high level nutrition, high level energy. I mean, even a lot of these fruits are like bigger. I mean, with the exception of the olive and the avocado, this is the way. This is what's going to allow one to really remove oneself from the starch addiction. The starch addiction is the number one addiction, the hardest addiction, harder than giving up recreational drugs, whether it be smoking, whether it's trying to give up alcohol. That by far is the hardest addiction. And that is really the biggest hurdle that allows people not to become and stay 100% raw. All right, so let's move on to the next question. I know we had some questions here on IG. All right, so this is good. Got a comment here on Instagram. A lot of raw greens don't work for me. I prefer raw red leaf lettuce, microgreens, baby kale, no nuts, no grains, mostly fruits. I don't prefer oil on my greens. That is awesome. Awesome. I mean, again, you got to find what works for you. Doing microgreens, baby leaf greens. If you find yourself to be intolerable of like heavy nuts and heavy seeds, because the thing about, I mentioned acid and alkaline. Most of our nuts are going to be acid formers. they're acid forming foods. We do need some acid forming foods in our diet. There are some alkaline foods that don't provide things that we get from acid forming foods. But acid forming foods should be a minor portion of our diet. But we do need some acid forming foods. Okay. So yes, that's one of the beautiful things about hemp seeds. Hemp seeds and most of our seeds are going to be alkaline, especially our hemp seed, because the hemp seed has some chlorophyll. It has some green alkaline energy in it. And hemp seeds is one of the most complete. It's a complete protein, but it has a complete array of a mineral complex. Almost every mineral that you can think of: zinc, iron, magnesium, copper, calcium. The hemp seed got it. Complete food. So we talk about using the hemp seed. We can think about doing the hemp seed milk, doing hemp seed dressing, or just sprinkling your salad with hemp seed. It's one of the things that I absolutely love. And even as a chef, one of the things that I do, that was the name of my shop. What was the name of my shop? Hemp Burger. Blending the nuts with the hemp seed, or we would also make our dressings. We would add the hemp seed in there. It's like the hemp seed gives it, it's almost like, it reminds me of the sister that we had on a little earlier, talking about the satisfaction she got from the fruits, eating fruits grown in the Sudanese soil, in the Jamaican soil. Hemp seed, when we start to blend hemp seed with our dressing, we start to include hemp seed with almost everything we eat. Hemp seed would bring everything to another level, and it bring a certain energy and girth. As a chef, I'm speaking as a chef, so I know nutritionally because after like any chef, chefs. A chef's job is to really taste food for a living. So energetically, it's like you've trained your taste, and especially as a raw food professional chef, your taste should be on just a whole nother higher level vibration. And I can say from 20 years of coming up with recipes and tasting different food combinations, by adding that hemp seed into our dressing, into our milk and smoothies, into our entree dishes on any level, just brought everything to another level. One of the other things I'll share, to sum it up on the hemp seed, some years ago, I was talking to a vendor who was selling had a whole bunch of different hemp products. Basically was telling me a story about how the Native Americans would call the hemp seed the green buffalo. Because as we know, the buffalo for, our indigenous native, in the Americas, the buffalo would basically give them everything needed to live. But so with the hemp seed. So the hemp seed is our green buffalo. It is our vegan buffalo. So just wanted to share that with y'all, since we really got on the hemp seed. Definitely a superfood. All right. So let's move on to the next question. All right. So yes. So we had a comment. I'm struggling with the starch addiction now. It's getting easier. My body is naturally beginning to reject the BS. Yeah. So it takes time, family. It takes time. I would say you got to really give yourself you got to really give yourself a solid year, because let's be honest, you got to get through a winter. That's the real test, and we're coming upon that now. As I opened up this whole talk, we talked about today our new moon, not our Libra new moon. We're in the Virgo new moon. And anybody knows anything about Virgos, and I'm talking about sidereal, I'm a sidereal astrologer. Sidereal Virgo is about that work. Virgo is about work, is about no cutting corners, is about the details, it's about putting in that work. All right. So we got to get today is that day where we got the sun and the moon aligned in sidereal Virgo. So we got a lot of energy aligned. We gotta get into these details. All right, because Virgo also is a sign of health. Virgo is all about health. Virgo and the Virgo, the natural ruler of the sixth house, governs what part of the body? What part of the body does Virgo rule? Our digestive system, which we take for granted. Our digestive system, it's like we put all this food multiple times a day, and we take for granted the work, the detailed work of the digestive system. If our digestion is weak, everything is weak. Anyone that knows, you come down with some kind of nausea, a stomach issue, everything else stops working. If we do not assimilate food properly, Virgo, properly and correctly, in the right sequence and order. Virgo is about that. Nothing is going to work. Nothing is going to work. So this is the energy we're dealing with. Next month, we're going to be dealing with Libra. And with Libra, but before we start dealing with joy and having fun and partnerships and having a good time and being creative and all of that Venusian Libra energy, we got to put in this work, and then we can enjoy the fruits of our labor. This is why Virgo precedes Libra, because this is that season, this is that time right now. Energetically, we got to put in that work. So part of putting in that work is understanding the science, is understanding the details of these foods, and especially one that we went into in detail, the hemp seed. So, doing our baby leaf greens, getting into some of these foods like our hemp seeds. We mentioned the microgreens. Somebody had chimed in about arugula. I love some arugula. Whether it be the baby greens or more of the mature greens. This is the time also, it's not too late to really get that fall garden going. Get that fall garden going. We got to get our hands dirty, because as I say, dirt is not dirty. It's chemicals that are dirty. So yeah, we'll take a few more questions. We've been going on close to an hour. So if you have any questions, if you're on Instagram, you can request to join in live. We can have a conversation. I've been enjoying the dialogue thus far. So yes, really just to sum up what we've talked about so far, we in a season right now, sidereal Virgo, it's about that work. It's about health. It's about details. And it's definitely not, this is the real test right now. This is the test that we have to go through. We're able to build up that momentum, get into our greens. This is the time. If you're in the U.S., some of the fruits that are in season right now are, I know for me personally, persimmons. Persimmons are, love persimmons. And persimmons really kind of take us through into the winter. And I make different sauces with the persimmon. Also, are squashes. This is squash season. They didn't created a whole holiday around a squash, the pumpkin. So pumpkins and our squashes are fruits. And they are the kind of fruits that are going to give us that that heaviness that we're looking for. People, because that heaviness, we're gonna go to the starches, especially the vegans. Vegans is gonna hit them starches up. So yeah. So again, thank you for So I'm just adding my comment from our sister here that was helpful on the cold intolerance. Stay in the course, add the greens. So again, family, if you're trying to be about this raw food life, you got to get through this winter time. It's not going to be easy. I can't promise you a walk in the park. You're going to have to walk through the cold, burning sands of this winter season. To come out on top is to get through this winter season and make it through into the time where it begins to get warmer again with our spring season. We'll see the other side, and you can get through this winter season doing raw foods, doing your big salads, doing your spicier greens. Trust me. You'll have a spring and a summer following that will be unlike any other spring or summer that you've had. Because now you're starting to, again, remake all of the tissues, all of the organs. You start to remake your brain tissue. So even your thoughts and your mindset and everything is going to be different. And then you're going to have the momentum of having that winter season to come off of. And to have, because the thing is this, if you fall for the starches, and it's going to be challenging, because what? I mean, you're going to likely go spend time with your family, right? And they're going to have that sweet potato pie. They're going to have that stuffing. For the Caribbean family, they're going to have them dumplings. These things that's like eating crack cocaine. It's a wrap. One taste and it's over. It's over. It's like, again, the clock got to start all over again. But, this is why I'm here, and I'm committing to being here week in and week out to answer your questions. Next week, we'll have the good doctor with us. As our elder example, I'm the young elder example. So, we want to create these multi-generational health pioneers. I mean, family, your health is everything. Your health is everything. So yes, so we asked what was the topic. Basically, we've touched on a lot. So, if you're here, you're just joining us live. You're joining us live on YouTube, Facebook. We appreciate y'all tuning in. Okay, so I think we got a few more questions. Is it optimal to juice the greens or to chew them? Which way does the body assimilate them better? Okay, by and large, there's going to be pros and cons with both. All right, so if you're chewing your greens, that is going to be the best way to assimilate your greens. If you're chewing your greens, so if y'all didn't hear the question was, is it optimal to juice your greens or to chew your greens? And I'm going to say in large, definitely, I mean, you're going to benefit from both. But if I had to pick one over the other, you're going to chew, to be able to chew your greens and to really use your teeth and that saliva to break down those greens. Because the advantage to also doing that is you're going to be able to really start to rewire the taste buds. You're going to be tasting that green. And that is also going to be a key factor in releasing yourself from a starch addiction. However, the con with chewing your greens is that you're not going to be able to get the volume of greens that you're going to be able to get if you were basically juicing them. So if you were juicing your greens or adding them into a smoothie, you're going to be able to get a greater volume of greens. So really, the real answer to the question is to do both. Is to chew your greens. So, you want to make sure, even when you're making your salad, because when you're making your salad, you're going to dress your greens. So when you put a dressing on your greens, you're not going to really be able to, let's be honest, you're not going to chew your greens in the same way as if it was basically a dry leaf. If it's a dry leaf, you're going to chew it until it basically breaks down into almost a juice. And that is obviously going to be the ideal way to really process and eliminate or assimilate your green. And again, we're in sidereal new moon Virgo. And Virgo is all about doing the work. And Virgos are going to be like, you need to chew your food 20, 30 times. Because again, Virgo is about those details. Virgo is about that work. Us, October 6th, sidereal Virgo. We in sidereal Virgo, not Libra. We in sidereal Virgo. And Virgo, this is the season right now, this month, right here, right now. This is the day, new moon, to begin to start to do some of these things. Chewing your greens, adding your greens to your smoothie. So really, I would say, family, is to do both. That is going to be the best advice I can give. All right. So a simple squash recipe. Well, there's so much you can do with your squashes. One thing that I like about the squash, now this is a question on the YouTube family, for our Instagram family. The question is, can I recommend a simple squash recipe? Well, the thing about our squash is that our squash is a food that we want to, it's almost again, this would be something we would use in place of a starch, a traditional cooked food starch. So if we have a squash, and our summer squashes, especially, our summer squashes are usually our soft zucchini, our soft squash. This is something that we can either vegetable shred, or if you have one of those spiralizers, you can put it through the spiralizer and make our squash noodle. And because again, the squash is, at least the summer squash, is going to be something that is largely water. Remember, this is a fruit. So this is an excellent food that we can slice into like lasagna noodles, or we can spiralize and put into, we can add it to our salad, and or we can make basically a squash, zucchini squash pasta salad. So all we would need to do is make a simple, We can do it. We can go the creamy route, or we can go more of the tomato route with the like a marinara. Okay, so basically, not to get into some of the specifics, just to really kind of give you some ideas. You can Google some simple fresh marinara recipes or fresh creamy recipe, fresh creamy vegan recipe, raw vegan recipe. So you can use your hemp seed. So here's a secret with that, family. If you see a creamy vegetable or a creamy vegan recipe online, all you have to do is add your hemp seeds into that. So if you see something like, say, for example, with cashews, right? So you may have 1 cup of cashew, a quarter cup lime juice, a quarter cup olive oil. You may add a quarter cup of chopped onion. If you like garlic, maybe a herb in there like basil, a couple of basil leaves, and some hemp seeds. Throw a half a cup of hemp seeds in there. It's gonna make all the difference. It's gonna make all the difference in your dressing. If you want it lighter, that's gonna give you pretty creamy consistency. You add your coconut water. We never, ever, ever use regular water. What happens when we use regular water? Basically, this regular water, I don't care if it's Kagan, alkaline, whatever, it don't have no life. It don't have no energy. So that's the recipe. And that's a great recipe for your squash zucchini noodles. So a great recipe. Actually, that was my first raw vegan meal. Was a zucchini vegetable noodle salad. So I literally had a vegetable slicer and I vegetable sliced my squash noodles. I wasn't hip on the hemp seeds, but I took my cashew, made a little cashew dressing. I added some other sliced vegetables, or I should say vegetable fruits, like bell pepper and onions, and it was real colorful. And I had my little dressing. It was satisfying to the eye. It was satisfying to the stomach. It definitely took my big salad to another level. And that was the beginning of my raw cuisine. All right. All right. So we got a quick question. I'll take a question here on heartburn. Heartburn. The best thing for heartburn is coconut water. Coconut water. You know, if the heart is burning, it's like, look, it's sending you it's ringing the alarm. It's like, bang, 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 bang. You know, that heartburn is acid. And we need to bring in that coconut water into the bloodstream. That coconut water has a cooling effect, has an alkaline effect. And they say coconut water cleanses the heart. It is good for the heart. The best for the heart. High in potassium. Potassium relaxes the heart. The heart is burning. The heart is on high alert. The heart is everything is, everything is tense and it's on fire. So in order to put out that fire, we got to bring in that coconut water. If you don't have coconut water, watermelon or any type of melon juice. But you need to bring in that fresh alkaline juice. Coconut water being number 1, watermelon being number 2, or any other melon. So that's what I would suggest. All right. So our next question, our brother, our Brazilian brother, who I know will be joining us at some point. Do you agree starchy foods, breads, etc., are more addictive than sugary foods like candy? By and far, yes. The starches are. I mean, I'll use myself as a testimony to that question, because while I never was a sweet, I never was really a candy person. I would prefer more salty foods, but it didn't mean that I wasn't. I was still addicted to starch. The only difference was that I like my starch salted. I like my starch salted. So while some people may enjoy or may prefer the sweet candy over the sweet starch, I would say that the starch would probably be by and far the number one, addiction. Largely because when we look at starch, we're looking at corn, wheat, corn and wheat. And that is in everything. Corn and wheat is in everything. So even for our meat eaters, our meat eaters are eating secondary corn and wheat. It's actually the top four foods that, especially in the standard American diet: corn, wheat, canola, and soy. So most of our vegans and non-vegans are eating corn, wheat, canola, and soy, especially our non-vegans. Because even if you're eating beef or whatever you may eat, those things are being fed those four things, or one of those four things. So there's a documentary called King of Corn. And these two guys actually took a sample of their hair and measured it under a microscope. And they found that it had a similar composition to corn. We are what we eat, literally. So if you were to take a strand of your hair, if you're listening to this right now, you were to take a strand of your hair and analyze it under a microscope, what are we going to see? What microscopic composition are we going to see from the foods that you have been eating over at least the last 12 months? So we are what we eat, and starch addiction is going to be by far the number one addiction. All right. We'll take a few more questions. All right. So we got a question on yeast infection or itching from jock itch, yeast infection. Again, a lot of these things come from the things that we've been talking about. And, with infections, basically yeast infection is a mucus buildup. It's a mucus buildup and irritation in that area of the body. And it's also, again, from a heavy acidic diet, one where there's, again, we got to start with the food. We got to start with, before we start looking at Band-Aid solutions, for any condition that any of us may have, yes, we need to look at some of these Band-Aid solutions to give us some temporary relief. But if we don't really start addressing these situations from the core, from what have we been eating? What did I eat today? What did I eat in this last week, this last month, and this last year to contribute to this yeast infection? to this jock itch, we're never going to get to the root cause. We'll never get to the root cause. So while there may be some, some herbal remedies to provide us some temporary relief, or some other, whether they be homeopathic or naturopathic solutions, in large part, this is an acid body, an acid response to a condition that didn't happen overnight, and it won't be cured overnight. So we got to look at, first and foremost, if I'm dealing with any kind of situation, especially if I was a female, I'm dealing with that, I got to go on a fast. Fasting is always going to be the first option. And sometimes most of the time, that's all you're going to be able to, that's all you're going to need to do, is go on a 3-day fast, a 5, 7, 14-day fast or more, right? Sometimes we need a little help. And that's when we go to our herbal formulas, our homeopathic formulas, some of our other remedies and solutions, maybe even taking a bitter complex, to alkalize the blood even further than what the fast is going to do, because the fast is going to actually put the body in detox mode. And that's what the body is actually trying to do with the yeast infection. It's detoxing. So now with the fast, we're helping the detox to happen faster. That's why I feel that energetically it's called a fast, or spiritually it's called a fast, because it's going to help things that you want to happen good in your life to happen faster. So good question there. Yeah, arthritis. Same thing, family. I mean, look, we can ask about anything, anything that's going on with us. Arthritis, infection, congestion, any of these issues, any of these problems, we got to look at what we're eating. And we went in hard on the cooked starch today, because as I said, we're in sidereal Virgo, new moon in Virgo right now. Virgo is about health. Virgo is about details. Virgo is about the digestive system. And Virgo, most importantly, is about that work. And this is the time right now, family, we got to put in that work. In these next 4 weeks, before we go into Libra, we actually go into Libra, at least the sun goes into Libra in about 2 weeks. In about a week, about 10 days, about the 14th, 15th. So we got about 9-10 days before we go into sidereal Libra. But as far as that lunar energy right now, that new moon energy, in terms of the 4-week cycle, we're in sidereal Virgo, and that's a reminder that we got to put in that work. And even aside from that, it's Virgo is about service. So of course, the most important people that we can serve is ourselves. We can't be of service to others until we are properly of service to ourselves. All right. All right, fam. So I'm gonna leave it there. We're an hour and 20 minutes in. I want to thank y'all for tuning in. I'm gonna save these lives, and we'll be back next week with the good doctor in the house, Dr. Reese Latham, be able to answer your questions. Again, I want to thank y'all for tuning in. If you're on YouTube, like, share, and subscribe to the channel. And, really appreciate y'all and your questions. Again, broadcasting live from Panama. We in the house, we in nature, we on the farm. You know, check out my website, check out everything that I'm doing. We got a really good schedule coming up. So if anything, I'll see y'all when y'all see y'all. If anything, next week. Peace and love, family. One love.